So I guess we're going to get started here. My name is Bruce Nestor. I'm president of the Minnesota chapter of the National Lawyers Guild. We're here today with other representatives of the National Lawyers Guild, Communities United Against Police Brutality, as well as 3 citizens, artists, and journalists who were detained early this morning in northeast Minneapolis by the Minneapolis police. The 3 individuals that are behind me are with a project called the Glass Bead Collective out of New York City. And they engage in documenting police misconduct as well as documenting protected First Amendment activity in protests around the United States. Early this morning at about 2 a.m. they got off bus 17B at 27th and Washington Street in northeast Minneapolis. They ended up walking about a block and a half towards the house they were staying when they were stopped by 2 squad cars of the Minneapolis police and subsequently by a sheriff's deputy car. They were interrogated, they were questioned about their travel plans, about their associations, why they were here. Initially they were told that they were under investigation because there had been car burglaries in the neighborhood. They were asked if they would consent to a search of their property, and all of them said they would not do so. The Minneapolis police proceeded to go through all of their property, search their persons, go through their backpacks, go through their video cameras, and ended up seizing cell phones, 2 video cameras, 2 still cameras, a computer, a separate hard drive, as well as clothing, personal objects, and money. Today I spoke to a Lieutenant Wisney with the 2nd Precinct of Minneapolis Police Department, as well as a member of the Minneapolis City Attorney's Office. The story being given by the police department is that these 3 are under investigation for criminal trespass upon the railroad yard in the area. That was not any of the statements that were made by the police last night or early this morning. All of this should be well documented on 2 police squad car videos that we believe were running the entire time that these individuals were stopped, interrogated, and their property was searched. I am putting on public notice to the Minneapolis Police Department that those squad car videos need to be preserved in unedited form. The audio needs to be preserved. The police now say that they are going to be obtaining a search warrant or seeking a search warrant in order to search the video cameras and the still cameras. This is absolutely outrageous behavior for a police department towards individuals who are engaged in protected First Amendment activity and who have a documented record of exposing police misconduct. We know of the existence of police misconduct in this city. We also know that independent citizens taking video of the police have exposed the police manufacturing false police reports, spraying people with chemical weapons and mace during the August 2007 critical mass. The ability of citizens and the ability of professional journalists and artists to document police conduct at the time that we are expecting large-scale demonstrations during the Republican National Convention is absolutely essential if we are to guarantee the First Amendment rights of the media and of people to engage in protest, as well as to hold police accountable. We hope that any affidavit presented by the Minneapolis police in support of their application for a search warrant is truthful, that it fully discloses the information they were given about why these 3 individuals were here, that it fully discloses that they were here to document and photograph police activity and protest activity, that all of that information is presented to a judge. We are also very concerned that not only was the video camera taken, which the police claim may contain evidence of the heinous crime of trespass, which it will not and does not, but that they also seized notebooks, phone numbers, names of activists, the schedule of where demonstrations will be held over the upcoming week, all of which was information, part of protected journalistic sources that these individuals were going to use to cover the protest activity occurring in this city over the next week. All of that information will now be taken by the Minneapolis police as part of what we believe is an intelligence operation to gather information on activists, to gather information on the location of protected First Amendment activity, and to use it to further investigate and to further crack down on protected activity. This is an outrageous violation. We believe that the justifications now being given by the Minneapolis Police Department are fabrications being made up after the fact to cover up what were gross constitutional violations of these citizens and of these journalists' rights to engage in First Amendment and protected activity. And with that, I would ask Vlad, I'm going to blank on your last name all of a sudden, Vlad Teichberg, to speak briefly about the actual events and the work of the collective that these three belong to.
Can you get a little center a little bit?
Yes, sure.
Vlad, could you start by saying and spelling your name, please, for all of us?
Sure. My name is Vlad Teichberg, V-L-A-D, T as in Tom, E-I-C-H-B-E-R-G. So let me tell you a little bit about Glassbead Collective and who we are. We are a group of artists, we're a group of filmmakers, we're a group of storytellers. We do a number of different projects. Some of these projects are projecting giant images on buildings, and we call it augmentation of space. Some of these projects is taking different video images and mixing them together to create a new reality. We work with immersive spaces and so on, but we're also journalists at the same time. For this particular project, we came to Minnesota to document what's going to happen during the Republican National Convention over the next week. And we have experienced the Republican National Convention 4 years ago. And 4 years ago in New York City, almost 2,000 people got arrested with absolutely no reason. Almost none of the charges stuck. All of these charges were dismissed, and people spent days in jail and would not be called to jail. They were held in these holding pens for days in the completely substandard, unhealthy conditions. The New York City is still facing massive lawsuits related to the systematic violation rights of its citizens expressing the First Amendment. We came to the city not looking for this kind of trouble. The reason we were making the film 4 years ago about the Republican National Convention is because we're actually fascinated why are people idealistic in our society in the first place. Why are people coming to protest and to express their opinion in the first place? Last time we were not given an opportunity to make a story about that because the violence perpetuated by the authority against people who were exercising their First Amendment rights completely became the dominant story. Coming back to what's happening over here, it is extremely important for individuals, be they established press, or be they citizen journalists, or be they just men on the street, to have the right to document, to witness what is going on around them. We just had an experience in New York where it's been a very long experience with how New York City Police Department is actually treating its citizens. There is a massive pattern of corruption, not a corruption of someone taking a bribe, but corruption of a much more serious and much more dangerous sort. A systematic system where police are manufacturing accusations against individuals they are arresting. And this particular problem can undermine the very essence of our democracy. It is fundamentally un-American, and this threatens the very fabric of our existence. Because if the people who are told to enforce the laws are free to violate those laws, there can be no rule of law. And what do we have? We have a society run by a bunch of thug with badges. What happened last night? Last night we went to pick up one of our members. We just got in from Chicago. We went to pick her up at a bus station, and she arrived extremely late. And we started making our way back to where we're staying at an acquaintance's house in northeast Minneapolis. When we got off that bus, we were confronted with basically a raid. We weren't in the middle of a building, we were in the street, but we had police cars coming at us from both sides, big lights, bright lights just flashing at us, and we started being interrogated. First we were being accused of being car thieves. Then they started searching us. When we voiced our constitutionally protected right not to be searched illegally or without probable cause, our request was systematically denied. All of our stuff was gone through. We were patted down. We were forced to sit in a police car where they went through our belongings piece by piece. But the worst atrocity of it all was that they took all of our belongings and then they confiscated them. And what did they confiscate? They confiscated our cameras. They confiscated our notes. They confiscated our computers. What they took away is our ability to report. And this cannot be allowed to happen. And beyond that, to add insult to injury, the police refused to give us even a receipt for the items they've confiscated. To this hour, we do not even know whether we'll be able to get our equipment back, because as far as we know, they're not even acknowledging that a lot of it is in their possession. This kind of behavior is completely outside of what I would personally call an established law and order society. police officer who was taking this away justified confiscating our equipment in this illegal way as in the interest of homeland security. What kind of homeland security do you have when police can come and take away your right to exercise your constitutionally protected rights?
What were you doing in the rail yard at 1:45 at night?
We were not in the rail yard at 1:45 at
They
night.
say that you were in the rail yard.
They are wrong.
Where were you exactly when this was happening?
We were actually on the bus.
You were on the bus.
Probably, we were just off the bus.
You were not in the rail yard at any point?
We were not in the rail yard at any point.
And Anita here was coming in by bus?
And Anita here was coming by bus, and we actually have her ticket to prove it. We can email it to you.
So you weren't cutting across the rail area to get to this place in Northeast?
No, we weren't.
You can actually look at a map here if you want to look. You can see the 17B bus route. Takes you right up to Washington and 27th Street. They were at Washington and 27th. They were then turned on 27th, walked about 2.5 blocks to where they were staying. And at that point, that's when they were stopped by the police. So at no point were they in the rail yard. There is no evidence in any of the cameras of ever being on the rail yard. And again, none of that was mentioned by the police at the time as a reason for the stop. I would also bet that if we go back and look at pre-existing police reports, there aren't any police reports complaining of railroad trespassing at that time. We also have witnesses who put them on bus 17B, met Anita at the bus station, took the three of them to the city bus, and we imagine the bus driver can testify that they got off at 27th and Washington.
So how did they get on the police department's radar? Why did they, of all the people in the city, why were they on you at 1:45, and how did they know you were here for RNC?
I don't know how, I mean, honestly, I'm not from here, so I don't know how Minneapolis Police Department operates. It's possible that we were just random victims of overzealous police officers looking to get some good video equipment. It's also possible that they also knew what our track record was in exposing instances of police brutality. We were responsible for releasing the video on the internet a month ago from New York Critical Mass, which is causing now massive changes in the New York City's police department. And the issue there was that the videotape conflicted radically with the official version of events. And you know, in some cases, tape just doesn't lie. Every time you have a system that is filled with individuals who are embedded in corrupt behavior, they don't particularly like when flashlight gets shined to dark places, so to speak. And it seems to me that in this particular case, this might be part of a broader pattern of trying to suppress people's ability to shine those lights. We're headed towards this convention, and we still don't know how it's going to be. It might be actually very peaceful. It might be violent. There might be people who are going to be protesting who are going to break rules. And there might be a situation where the police is going to overstep its authority and commit crimes against the people, which we would find as a society somewhat unpleasant. The attempt to suppress the witnessing of brutality against the citizenry is something that could be motivating the Minneapolis Police Department. But then again, I'm not saying that it does because I don't know what's inside their heads.
Vlad, were you using your equipment at all last
No,
night?
it was in my
bags?
yes.
So there wouldn't be any footage on that from that night, from last night? You guys
No,
were
we weren't really using the camera. But there was footage. We shot some stuff at like 5, 6 p.m. But it was actually initially we shot footage of we were visiting the protesters' conversion space, and the police
On Smith Avenue?
on Smith Avenue. Yeah, because we need to get want to get a lot of the literature that they have for the movie actually, because it explains a lot. So you can pan over the pans, whatever. And while we were there, the police showed up, or police officers showed up and demanded to have a tour of the property. So we took out the video camera and tried to film it, and then he like walked away the second he saw a video camera. So that's probably the only footage they'll find on that tape.
The police wanted to have a tour of the Smith
Yes,
Avenue facility?
yeah.
Why did they say that?
You should ask them.
This is when Excel was in front of the Smith Avenue yesterday, right?
Yes,
The
this is when
energy
Excel was in front.
company.
Yeah, you should ask them. I could probably get you the name. I mean, I didn't get the name of the officer. It was very quick.
Also, there was literature from the Convergence Center in the personal belongings of these three individuals. And when the police officers discovered that literature from the Convergence Center in St. Paul, there was a visible increase in their level of interest. They obviously, I mean, what the police seized, the property they seized, the political literature they seized, corroborated the story they were given by these three individuals in these early morning hours. The police knew full well this is not a criminal trespassing case.
You guys say you're documentarians, you're artists, you're journalists. That's a lot of stuff all in there. What do you? I'm just trying to kind of get a fix on your agenda, most broadly. Are you affiliated at all with this RNC welcoming committee?
No.
Are you affiliated with any of the anarchist groups that had promised to disrupt it?
No, not at all.
But you were there at their site yesterday.
Of course, we're going to document.
I think the media was there too, Tom.
I
mean, first of all,
Are you associated with them then?
so far, thank God, in this country we
they
don't.
actually didn't let me in. And they did let these guys in, so there's a bit of a difference.
Well, I'm sorry you don't have access.
So am I.
Yes, you should come to our side. We're always recruiting members of our collective. But anyway,
But that's the issue now.
What is the
are
issue?
you? I mean, I guess that's the question I'm getting at. Do you have a side? Do you have an investment? And do you believe that's why you were targeted to intimidate you because of that side?
Well, I personally don't have a side. My side is the truth. In that way, I'm a journalist. I mean, we never manufacture evidence. We don't produce like outright propaganda. We don't manipulate our video to say something that didn't happen. We say the truth. Some people would find truth to be propaganda, maybe. Also, I want to say that in this country we still don't have a guilt by association. I hope that remains to be the case. We showed up at the convention center because there's a number of things. By talking to these groups and providing unbiased coverage of events or filming of events, we allow protesters a certain sense of protection, because what we guarantee is if something bad goes down at these protests and police attack them, we will take that footage and it will be all over the internet within hours. And that is a very powerful service, actually, to that community. Are we furthering the agenda? Do we agree with the agenda? I don't think it's even relevant. Because in our job, we're not furthering the agenda. We're only furthering democracy and freedom in the society.
But when they initially stopped you, was there reason for stopping you that they were investigating?
Yes, they were investigating. There was a lot of incidents of broken-in cars in the neighborhood.
And did they tell you right away that you were trespassing on railroad land? Or
We weren't on the railroad. We were on the street.
But did they tell you you were?
No, they didn't. They told us. That came up very late in the thing when the arresting officer, or not arresting, because we weren't arrested, but the detaining officer asked me, well, what were you doing the railroad yet? And I said, we weren't there. And she said, fine, you don't have to go into that. That was pretty much the extent of our conversation. I want to point out that the cameras on these police vehicles, and I think it's very, very important that the media and the people see what happens on those cameras, because I think those cameras will tell the truth about what actually went on. And I think once you look at those tapes, you will obviously see that this was just a gross violation of our First Amendment rights.
Did you come from that house where you were staying, go pick her up, and then walk back there?
Well, at some point we came from the house. I mean, we weren't there all day. I mean, we were running around all day. We're still trying to figure out the city. We don't. We're definitely tourists.
Okay, I was just trying to figure out why you had the cameras with you.
Oh, we always carry.
Pick her up.
The cameras are tiny. They're this big. They're not that heavy. I mean, they're like fueled behind you, like the guy over there. They're pretty much that size. You carry a camera with you all the time, because if you're a filmmaker, because you never know when you get a good shot. Now Anita just got off the bus, so she had all of her belongings with her. She had both of her cameras with her and all her clothes. They're still holding that.
They're still holding her money, her cell phone.
No, the police is holding it as you can explain.
They're still holding her money, her cell phone, her clothing, all of her personal belongings, allegedly as evidence of criminal trespass for someone who probably wasn't even in the city or hadn't gotten off the bus yet at the time the police might be claiming the criminal trespass occurred.
How long did the detainment last? How long were you guys?
I don't know. I mean, honestly, it lasted forever. That's a fair answer.
We didn't have our phones.
An hour, 2 hours?
It wasn't 2 hours. It's probably an hour. I would say between half hour and an hour, but I don't know.
And you have a case number? I saw you had a blue card there.
We do, and I've given this to some people
before. It's the same case number for all of us, by the way.
The case control number is 265546. The badge numbers of the officers involved were 6637 and 1631. And one of the squads involved was number 223, all out of the 2nd precinct. 265546. Okay, that's going to wrap it up. There, you can go to www.glassbeadcollective.org to see the type of work that's done, including some postings they did of writing on the Chinese consulate in New York City.
That's not on the website.
We're not on the website yet, but
we haven't been updating the website. But you see some of our work from going back to 2002.
You can also go to www.nlgminnesota.org, and we'll be providing updates on this situation.
Have you ever been Yeah, have you guys ever been, I mean, was there anything that was flagged in your background, felonies or anything like that?
I have no misdemeanors even. I mean, I speak for myself.
Clean records?
I have a clean record.
You guys feel like you were being followed since that department center?
I don't know. I mean, I don't want to be paranoid. I don't know. I can't tell. I do feel like we'll be mugged by cops.
Metaphysically.
Physically.
Okay.
Forget metaphysically. Physically.
We're going to wrap it up now then.
Good luck. Enjoy your stay.
Oh.
Thank you.
Welcome to Minneapolis.
Minnesota, nice. But one thing I want to add, by the way, is that, well, first of all, because of what happened, we're actually moving right now. We're not even going to stay there anymore because it was, you know, for the family that was hosting us, it was a very scary experience. So we actually found another place to stay. I want the police to know that, so they don't stop harassing them in case they want to, because there were all these unmarked police vehicles circling the house all day today.
We also believe that when one of our members, a lawyer for the National Lawyers Guild, went to pick them up to bring them to my office this afternoon, cars were parked outside that we believe were undercover police surveillance, including people with video equipment photographing them as they came by on their way to my office. You know, we don't know that for a fact, but if so, that would really be disproportionate police resources to an investigation for a misdemeanor criminal trespass charge.
What's the address of the home where this is?
But I don't think the homeowners want that given
Allows us to
out.
corroborate your story, though.
Yeah, you can ask the police about it.
You can ask the police. It's very close where I am. And the one thing I want to add is that since this happened at 2 o'clock in the morning, I want to say that there were so many people in Minneapolis community who stepped forward and offered their help to us that it actually says probably more about Minneapolis than the behavior of the Minneapolis Police Department.
So you plan to go home now, or you plan to go back to New York? You plan to stay, right?
Well, we're gonna find out if we can get some of our equipment back.
Your equipment.
Yeah.
So what if you get